Eccoci pronti per andare a Serie con tutte le sue anteprime nazionali, internazionali e mondiali ed una in particolare. Se siete curiosi di scoprire di cosa si tratta, c'è un piccolo anticipo prima della sigla, ma ricordatevi di seguire il canale e di cliccare sulla campanellina per avere tutti gli aggiornamenti. Anteprima e sigla!
Like ever in the history of
No, season 2? Yeah.
in season 2?
Yeah.
What else? What episodes have you seen?
The first two.
Big church scene.
Un po' d'amore, d'amicizia e tanta musica.
Con Jocelyn e Alessandra Tab.
E Cannes si tinge di rosa perché è la settimana di Cannes Serial Festival delle serie televisive, un festival molto particolare, non è il tappeto rosso del Festival di Cannes, ma è il tappeto rosa della televisione. Anche tutti i negozi espongono la bandiera di Cannes Serie perché è l'unico festival del suo genere veramente aperto a tutti e gratuito perlomeno a Cannes. Ed eccoci sulla Croisette, il palais del festival, con il suo palco che quest'anno è stato adibito per il famoso tappeto rosa dove ci sono la firma degli autografi VIP, e ecco che dentro si intravedono gli spettatori. Il bello di un festival aperto al pubblico e, ripeto, con ingressi gratuiti. Gli ingressi alle proiezioni sono gratuiti, devono essere acquistati, ovviamente, cioè acquistati, scaricati, prenotati, perché si entra fino a esaurimento dei posti. Ovviamente non vale la stessa regola per la stampa, ma di questo parleremo dopo. Ecco, le persone che vanno, sono dall'altra parte, c'è la fila, lunghissima fila che vanno per le proiezioni, invece noi stiamo andando da un'altra parte.
Sì.
Sì.
Perché a noi piace.
Ed ecco il tappeto rosa. Eccoci sulla sulla mitica scala mobile del Palais del Festival, che abbiamo percorso per altre cose, guarda che faccia che mi fa. E qui ci sono gli auditorium e le sale dove appunto ci sono le programmazioni, ecco che mi sta pilotando. Lo scorso anno abbiamo visto delle anteprime molto interessanti e ce n'è una che io personalmente ho votato come migliore serie dell'anno. Bonjour, adesso dobbiamo mostrare il badge. E ecco qua che passano quelli che sono gli appuntamenti nelle diverse sale, quelle che sono le proiezioni. Ieri ha iniziato con Mia moglie è una strega, una delle serie più famose della storia della televisione a livello internazionale. E queste sono le programmazioni della settimana e adesso vediamo in sintesi un po' tutti quelli che saranno appunto le anteprime. Ricordiamo che Cannes Serie ci sono anteprime nazionali ma anche anteprime internazionali e mondiali. Ce n'è una particolarmente attesa, chissà quale sarà. Questa è una veloce carrellata e poi vi racconteremo qualcosa su alcuni degli incontri, ma soprattutto su quelle che saranno le serie più importanti. Ecco, c'è anche un podcast che viene registrato direttamente all'interno di Cannes Serie e che racconta un po' come facciamo noi, un pochino più nel dettaglio, visto che nella settimana tutti i giorni dedica una puntata del podcast. Ecco il programma completo, anzi mi allontano un pochino perché altrimenti non si riesce a vedere tutto. Ce ne sono un paio vietate, no, 3, sono 4, sto contando 5, quelle vietate ai minori di 16 anni, bada bene, e non 18, e qui ecco dai colori si capisce se sono incontri, se sono in competizione, fuori competizione. Stavo pensando perché in italiano non si dice in gara, ecco, non si dice. Perché mi fai fare queste traduzioni così
perché
letterali
io parlo un'altra lingua.
Ma infatti, essendo scritto in francese, cercavo la parola italiana. A proposito di lingue, siamo stati a una conferenza stampa dove giustamente la moderatrice, che era di quale?
Credo che è americana.
No, non nazionalità, e chi rappresenta? Lei, la Paramount, ok.
E anche l'ufficio stampa di Cannes Series.
E che chiedeva appunto se tutti tutti potevano seguire la conferenza in inglese o se c'era bisogno della traduzione, perché in effetti il problema è che quando si viene a questi incontri mondiali a volte c'è chi non comprende la lingua, quindi
Come me.
ma che bugiardo!
Ma sì, no, io non capisco.
Diciamo la verità, si è estremamente distratto, ma poi ve lo racconteremo dopo. Intanto vediamo dove stiamo, quello che succede fuori e dove stiamo andando. Eccoci nella sala delle conferenze stampa dove, spoileriamo, va cosa state per vedere. Ebbene sì, di tutte le serie, voilà, quella più attesa. 11 stagioni di The Walking Dead, 4 spin-off, Dead City è quella che rappresenta il vero sequel, anteprima mondiale della seconda stagione. Allora sta per iniziare la conferenza stampa, la più attesa della serie più ricercata, eccolo!
So first of all, welcome to both of you. It is such an honor to have you here for this world premiere. It's really exciting to have you here at Karen Series with us. These guys all have lots of questions for you, but I just want to start off with something right away. Let's just talk about Negan for a minute.
Okay.
How much is he moving toward redemption? Is he really changing in this next season? In New York, in a post-apocalyptic world.
You know what, we got to explore more of New York. We got to, last year, just in going there, it was in really sort of like a concrete and steel palette. And we got to expand on that in ways that were super challenging, but paid off. And also through that, we just see whole other ways of life in New York, different kinds of walkers, and different complications. So yeah, I mean it makes New York even more than what it was.
Ok, on va ouvrir un peu à vos questions à vous. Voilà, here, go ahead.
Hello. I would like to know which scene was the most challenging for you to shoot.
Like ever in the history of
No, like in this
Season 2?
Yeah.
in season 2?
Yeah.
With how slow.
What episodes have you seen?
The
First two.
Church scene.
Yeah, that's in the...
You saw that, right? Okay, so that was like the most dialogue, and we shot that kind of at the beginning with 100 extras, and then a lot of our new cast, and after not doing Negan for a year, to come back and jump right into that scene was challenging, just because I have issues with so much dialogue sometimes, and to get back into the kind of character of it all, because there's also some stuff going on emotionally, and where we are in the story, where he's kind of on his back foot, which we don't see Negan on his back foot very often, and he's sort of thrust into this place where he's not completely comfortable in that scene, and so I'd say that off the top of my head that you've seen, that would be probably the biggest challenge.
And what's interesting about that scene is that's the big return of
Lucille, right?
Lucille.
Yeah.
So how did that feel?
That felt great. I say this a lot. I'm not a prop actor. Some actors love their props, and I've never been one. I'd rather not deal with props. I would just rather be, eye to eye, face to face with another actor. But for the first time, Lucille became so important to me, kind of becoming Negan in a way, that to get her back and just feel kind of the heft of that was a joy. I loved it.
And is it true that you got a Lucille tattoo?
It is true, yeah.
Can we see it?
Yeah, it's right here. But see the New York's Statue of Liberty. But our last day of filming this year, another producer-director, Mikey Cetrazimas, who directed the first 2 episodes, him and I got a tattoo artist to come and do the whole crew.
Wow.
and cast whoever wanted a tattoo. So I think they did like 90 tattoos in a day.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was cool.
Scott, did you get one?
Oh no. Jeffrey has now. There's
I'm trying.
2 events that Jeffrey has had where tattoos were freely given out.
One was my wedding.
Oh.
Yeah, and I'm like, everybody gets a tattoo that goes to the wedding, but Scott's still holding out.
Yeah, luckily I only had one thing.
Ok, tiens.
I've got a question. Since Negan is
Going in, it's been 9 or 10 years now, so I had no idea that I'd be doing a spin-off, much less doing a spin-off with, Lauren, Maggie. I don't think that would have ever made sense to me. I don't know that it still makes sense to me how the two of us have ended up together on this journey. But I think initially, I was just happy to be part of the show for a couple seasons. I think when I first talked to Scott, he was like, it was like 2 or 3, I need you to, commit to like 2 or 3 seasons. And if you would have told me then that I'd still be here, I'd never, ever would have believed it. But I've had that much fun. And I think that there's been such a great journey that Negan's got to go on emotionally that I will continue to play it as long as Scott's, writing it.
Well, Scott, you've been at the forefront of several Walking Dead spin-offs. Is there kind of a secret at this point? Is there a way you're doing it right?
Well, it's about making them distinct, and luckily with The Walking Dead is about the characters first. It's so often people say, "Oh yeah, I didn't watch that show," and then they say to me, "But I realized something. It's not about the zombies. It's about the characters." And I go, exactly. Any good TV show is about the characters first and foremost. It's not about the plots. Even a plotty show like 24, it was all about Jack Bauer. And so with these, this is sort of like the phase 3 shows of The Walking Dead. They all center on these classic Walking Dead characters, and even because they're generally duos in each of them, and their relationships. We love these characters, but we want to see these characters affect one another. That's what stories are.
Ok, une autre question? Voilà.
It's like Eugene for a little. Just for a little.
For a half a season. For me as an actor, it's always been trying to kind of play against the mean and the dark. That obviously I think is on the page, but then it's trying to find that kind of next level. With Negan, I think it was a lot with his sense of humor. I could go off the fact that I knew that he liked kids, and he thought that they should be saved and treated properly. So Negan always had a couple things that to me I could always use, and I would try to play against the darkness. Obviously, our introduction to him, he was dark, but he also did it with a smile, which might have been darker. I was always trying to play off the sense of humor, and then looking back now on that, I think, well, maybe I leaned into the dark, smiling and having too much fun with it. But that was also, Kirkman and Scott, and that's kind of who he was. So there's always been so much on the page. The writers have always done such a good job, especially with the introduction of Negan, that as the years have gone, it's always, for me, it's kind of playing against it and making him, if you just hated him, then I don't know why you'd want to watch him for as long as you have. And I thank you for continuing to watch. There has to be more, I think.
Would you describe him as iconic?
No. Not me, because I played there. You can.
What do you guys think? Is Negan an iconic? Yes. I think you can safely say that.
Well,
how does that make you feel?
I mean, I don't know. I'm still playing him.
I think you should start every event like this with that.
I play that kind of character.
Yeah. Well, I want hands on the table staring at me.
Yeah. And that's all I say.
Mic drop. Okay, here, please.
We've seen him, I think when we first met him, this was a guy that was so confident in who he was, but it turns out he wasn't. And he questions himself a lot of the time. And I think what helped a lot was doing the Here's Negan episode and seeing where this guy came from. And even though it was just, 43 minutes of a story, I think that informed the audience so much of stuff that I already knew. that I really wanted the audience to know, and I think that changed a lot of people's perceptions of the character, which allowed us to then go other places with him without it feeling out of character. Huh?
Yeah,
He's iconic.
Iconic. Yes, we said it. Yes, please.
Today we are living in a world that sometimes feels even scarier than the Walking Dead universe. If Negan were dropped into our real world today, what would shock him the most? And what advice do you think he would give to us to survive it all with his usual twisted sense of humor?
So many places to go. I can tell you a couple places I'd like to drop Negan. Yeah, I don't even know where to begin with that. I'm going to agree with you that the world is a bit of a mess right now, and maybe there is a world in which Negan could help clean things up. Certainly, put me in a room with, I can think of a couple people off the top of my head, with Lucille. That's a fine line. Yeah, I love everybody.
Yeah, I mean, as far as...
It's a real obscure.
Yeah. But I mean, if you drop him in the real world, obviously he's not going to be, he's not going to be hitting people with a bat. This is the real world. So would he go back to being a gym teacher?
I said he would be in a room with a couple people.
Okay. I'm just wondering, like, where that, would he be running for office? He's a leader of sorts, but I gotta tell you, I mean, his plain-spoken ways may play a little bit better now than, I guess I just would hope he's on the side of right. I'm not talking about right and left.
I think he would be.
But on the side of,
What's right?
just what's good for people. And I do think, one of the most important things about Negan is the behavior he adopted in the apocalypse, especially just, full force Negan, was on the premise of doing what's right for a community, for his community. Now, even the smiling and performance that he put on when we first met him, which was so horrific, was, in Negan's words, about killing one person instead of like 100 people. He wanted to seem like the biggest monster in the world so that he would scare people and that there wouldn't be conflict.
Yeah, I think everybody is under the impression that he enjoyed it because he smiles. What he's doing is putting on a show. He could have, had a sad face and killed everybody, but he smiled and made an example of one in trying to mitigate the damage, which I still get people that are like, yeah, but the difference between Negan and our heroes is that he enjoys killing. No, he doesn't. He made a show of it in hopes that if he just killed one, that would be enough for everybody to kind of come to his way of thinking and fall in line with the case of Rick, I guess. And obviously that didn't work.
And I would say, there's a lot of theories, and by the way, there is no right or wrong answer. Just because I say it, that isn't the answer. It's what people watching it believe it to be. But I do believe the strategy of the way he killed people killed two people when he stepped on, that he didn't go and say, I'm going to kill those two people. That it was, relatively random to his count. That said, I think he was hoping that randomness and that tension and that awfulness would result in a longer piece.
Yeah, he didn't know who anybody was other than Rick, right?
No, but, Abraham was a pretty big guy.
He was a huge guy. Yeah. But, I mean, he didn't know, it was out of random. It was just the eeny, meeny, miny, mo of it all. I don't think he went in knowing.
Coming off the back of that question, when you're in the writer's room, do you think at all about current events? Do you try to bring in things that are happening in the world today into your writing?
I think what we talked, and everybody does it differently, but when I would talk about it, I like getting into the core human values that reflect our events and getting deep into those values and questions and certainly into morality and then questions of leadership and certainly you get into politics and things like that, but it wasn't like opening the paper and looking for a story, and you want things to be a bit timeless, but you do, I think, and I think Walking Dead is based in a humanistic idea. It's just, you know, the brilliance of Robert Kirkman's creation is that slow walkers are a very manageable threat if people work together, but people have to work together. And so right there's your whole thing, the entirety of just the human story. Is can people get along that are very different and with the stakes so high?
Whether it's story or casting or what the one sheet's going to look like, it's a lot of calls, not just with Scott, but with AMC and then for me, I think the most I can do is then show up at work and try to set a good example, not just for cast but for crew as well. Because this is a hard show, and it always has been. It's kind of been notorious. Before I even joined the show, I heard stories about how hard it was, and
What makes it so hard?
It's just it's physically a lot. For me, it's a lot of mental. I'm very dyslexic, and Negan loves to talk, as we know. So that's always been a challenge, just trying to keep up with that. And I'm approaching 60 years old, and I did not think that I would still be battling the undead and the alive still at this point. It does. It keeps you young in some ways.
Undead keeps you young.
At 9 in the mornings when I try to get out of bed, and then I feel very old.
And apparently eating cockroaches, if I got that story right. Did you really eat a cockroach?
I really ate a lot more than one.
Live cockroach.
Here's the thing. I'm also blind, and I don't wear contacts, so I wear glasses in between, and so I can talk and see, and I guess maybe not talk, but so I can see. And then when we shoot, I take the glasses off. And I had to eat a plate of cockroaches, but the thing was, and they didn't tell me this. They failed to mention that half the plate was real cockroaches, and then half was something filled with like a custard and
Marzipan.
Marzipan.
Sounds good.
I don't know what it was. Problem is that no one told me that this side of the plate don't touch, this side of the plate touch. And so we did the scene numerous times. And I kept eating them thinking, this doesn't taste like custard. And I kept saying in between takes, I'd be like, there's something wrong here. And I'd have like legs sticking out of my teeth. It turns out I was eating the wrong side of the plate, and like nobody wanted to say anything because
you're the producer.
Well, they wanted to finish the scene, I think, and so it was after the scene, and then Mikey ate one, and then my kid I was doing the scene with also ate
That's
one.
Mike Satrazemis.
Mikey Satrazemis, yeah.
Director.
And he felt bad, he said, and so he ate one. But I think I had probably 10, 11. They were cooked, but they did not taste good.
I want to find out, Nicolas Cage is notable for eating cockroaches. Not in his life, in a vampire film, I believe. I wonder what your guys' scores are. Cockroach to cockroach.
I don't know. I guess we'll have to find out.
We'll have to ask.
I thought he only ate one.
Oh.
It would be a one-shot deal if you knew it was real. You know what I mean? If you don't know it's real, apparently you just keep doing it over.
Allez, une autre question?
How could you describe this?
I think season 1 is really, Maggie and Negan going into this new world of apocalyptic Manhattan, and us kind of seeing this almost, are they going to be able to work together? Is this going to pan out? And now I think we've been there for a half a minute, and we're going to see the world of Manhattan expand, people-wise, city-wise, all of it. So the world's about to get a lot bigger for these two.
And talking about the world getting bigger, I mean, the Walking Dead franchise over the years has gotten very big, gone to many different places. I mean, tell me about, what was your interest in doing that? I mean, not just with this particular show in New York, but coming to France, for example, places like that. What makes that interesting to you?
I mean, it's about making the shows distinct and putting the characters in a couple of these shows in new environments that bring more out of them. I think, you know, Daryl and Carol in France and in Spain, it sort of sets them back to zero. And the same with Maggie and Negan in New York. Like, they don't know where they are. They don't know all about it. And bottom line is, in the rest of the world, they're incredibly formidable. They've lived a long time and they've survived a long time. And we wanted to put them in situations that would challenge them and maybe bond them that much more and put them at odds. And then even with Rick and Michonne, that was, even though that was in America, that was a very, very different situation.
D'autres questions?
But the reason for that more than anything is I have a family. It's hard to, you don't want Negan to come home and be dead to a 7-year-old maybe after a long day. So I've always been able to separate. I have to. Otherwise, I think Negan might be quite fun to go out with it.
How much is there a lot of bonding, or was there a lot of bonding off set? Do you and the other cast like hang out together, spend time together, or is it like, we're done shooting, let's go home?
No, I especially when we were in Georgia, we were very insulated. So when I first joined the show, I mean, I was with Norman every day. We also lived kind of right next to each other, but we hung out a lot, and I miss him tremendously now. So, you know, we text every day, but it's not quite the same as going for a motorcycle ride or going into work all the time. But I think there was a lot of bonding, especially with the Mothership show, more so than anything.
The Mothership show shot about an hour south of Atlanta, in a little town called Sonoy, where, you know, there were no other TV shows shooting, and the town of Sonoy really embraced the production. You know, Alexandria was a little housing community right off of Main Street there, and it's such a strange thing because, you know, people die on the show, but this show, I think I haven't worked on a ton of shows, but the ones I have worked on outside the Walking Dead universe, you know, they weren't unusual in that it wasn't the most Bondy thing. You know, people were friendly with each other, but they weren't like a family. And amazingly enough, Walking Dead is a show where people die, and yet everybody is so close. It's such a hard thing, because Walking Dead, we always shot at the same time, and I just kind of realized that it's like the greatest summer camp on earth. All summer, and all the actors and the crew would just be together. And it's different when you're head counselor, working on the calendar for tomorrow, the activities of like inner tubing and basket weaving, but no sympathy. But yeah, that was an incredibly tight group, and it was something to see.
Everybody talks about shows being families, and mostly that's a lot of bullshit. It's not. When I joined the show and everybody talked about what a family they were, I was like, yeah, sure. They really, truly are. And I don't know that I'll ever be a part of something quite like it. It was so special, and you're right. If someone left the show, someone died in the show, there was a big party in that person's honor, and lots of tears and games and fun, and I don't think you ever truly leave either. You can die, and yet you're part of this family forever, and it really is a special deal.
I mean, Star Trek went on before the movies for 3 years.
Yeah.
This is, we're talking 11 seasons over even more time, and then all the spin-offs. And then, one thing that's sort of nice to see, with convention culture, everybody's seeing each other all the time. But one thing I love is look on like Instagram or something like that, like somebody from like World Beyond is friends with somebody from Fear, or somebody from Tales is hanging out with somebody from the original show. It is lovely. And one thing that's weird about the Walking Dead universe is, even though the shows have been shorter, they really have bonded those people too. I think it's because you're doing this like dramatic play, and you're playing football at the same time, with all the action that you're doing.
All right, we just have a few minutes left. Maybe one or two quick questions.
And by the way, I meant American football.
Go ahead.
What does it mean to you to present this series and the new season at an international festival like Cannes series?
Yeah, so the world premiere tonight, I think, as well. How's it feel?
I mean, it's awesome. It's great to be here. I never would have thought we'd bring a TV show to Cannes, so I've been here a couple of times with films, but I feel very honored to be able to be here, and I'm having a great time with just, Scott and I goofing around with all you, and I mean, what a beautiful place. I can't think of a neater place to premiere anything, so thank you for having us.
Yeah, I was speaking to one of the folks who puts on the festival, and something I didn't know, or actually I had a dim memory of, is that The Walking Dead was supposed to come years ago with Gale and Hurd, and that's when COVID hit. And then after that, they were going to do World Beyond, and we were still in COVID. So this is the third time we've tried to do it, and I just didn't quite have a grasp of the whole thing. I mean, I knew about Cannes, and then coming here and seeing how wonderful this festival is and how beautiful this city is. It's incredible, and it's also incredible. I used to, when I was a kid, go to comic conventions before comic conventions were like a giant industry. This is like, these are references I don't know if you guys will get, but like this is the Ramada Inn in Cranford, New Jersey.
Like a little hotel.
Yeah, and to watch shows that, some of the DNA is Walking Dead, or rather some of the Walking Dead's DNA are those shows, seeing like 16 millimeter prints of The Prisoner in a little ballroom, and to be at Cannes with something like this, to think of just how genre has grown and become such a prevalent part of the culture, it makes the 9-year-old me who was like, kids were looking askance at my comic books. It's really something.
And to see it on the big, incredible screen tonight, you'll see it.
Yeah, it's great.
That theater.
It's an honor. Very honored to be.
All right, just one last question before we wrap up.
It's
The interview with Katie Heigl, because I think it was like it's like the 20th anniversary, is that right? Of Shondaland, I guess. And so I can't believe it was 20 years ago. It seems like a lifetime ago now. But I mean, that show got the ball rolling in my, that happened much later. I was a very late bloomer, I think. I was like the king of doing a pilot and never having it picked up, or movies that nobody saw. And suddenly this show and this character came around, and it changed my life. And like Zack Snyder was a fan of Grey's Anatomy and cast me in Watchmen because of Danny Duquette. And it just has continued, and I've been very blessed. But there's not a day I don't wake up and thank you, Shonda, for that opportunity.
Right, so from one iconic character to the next with Negan, we're so happy that you're going to be here with us tonight to show it. Thank you to both of you. Let's give them a big round of applause.
E per ora dal tappeto rosa è tutto, ci aggiorniamo la prossima settimana. Baci!